Excuse me, sir. What are you listening to?
What's up?
What are you listening to?
Oh, a story about these two co-founders who hired a 22-year-old kid to run their socials. It did 100 million views and it was all through memes.
Shit, really?
Yeah, pretty sweet story.
Trainual had just closed a $27 million Series B, and the board wanted growth, like real growth, not the kind you can just buy, but there was a problem. Their entire audience was built from paid ads. So if you kill the spend, the audience disappears overnight. They tried everything: cinematic brand films, large influencer partnerships, a massive agency retainer, and nothing stuck. So the CMO did the unthinkable. He began making content himself for the brand, filming, writing hooks, editing. You have an executive cosplaying as a social media manager. That is not scalable. Trainual knew this couldn't last, so in between board meetings, the CMO began scrolling on LinkedIn, looking for talent. Anyone who could take this work off his plate. After all, he's an executive running a company. He's got bigger things to do. And that's when the CMO stumbled upon a kid, a 22-year-old, posting unhinged content on LinkedIn. He had barely any traction, but something about the writing stood out to the CMO. He checked out his profile. The kid was based in Austin, Texas. Divine timing. The two founders were flying out to Austin, Texas that next week for a conference they were hosting. So the CMO sent the kid a message on LinkedIn. They were to meet up for coffee in the Fairmont in Austin that next Tuesday. The kid showed up in the hotel lobby. It's gold, ever. He's out of place, dude. He's 22, he lives in a shitty apartment, and he's in this 5-star hotel. He goes to the front desk, takes the elevator upstairs. First thing he sees, two executives sitting at a table who are running a company that investors just bet $27 million on. Across from them, a 22-year-old who's never done an in-person pitch before. All that the co-founders wanted was to win on socials. And what they didn't expect was to walk out of the Fairmont on that Tuesday having agreed to pay $4,000 a month for memes. Memes. Like, who does that? How do you explain that to a board? Yeah. We're allocating budget to a 22-year-old to post jokes on our company page. How do you sell that to investors who just wired you $27 million? Oh, and by the way, they were the kid's first client ever. The kid's hands didn't stop shaking for that week. He had just signed a $27 million Series B company to a $4K a month retainer to make memes. He walked out of the Fairmont, stepped onto Rainy Street, looked up at the sky, processing what just happened. They kicked off that next Monday, October 2nd. The kid had 29 days to prove his value. 29 days. And all Trainual had to do was just wait and see. The kid had a single document with 5 questions on it. That was the entirety of his onboarding process for Trainual. The Trainual team filled out the doc with all the relevant information on their buyers and the type of audience that they wanted to build, and the kid began cooking. Trainual was sitting at 45,000 total followers across LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, Facebook, and only a few thousand organic impressions in the trailing 30 days, which is pretty standard for that industry. Almost all of their marketing budget and focus was being spent on paid. Until now, the kids' promised deliverables were 1 post per day, per channel, managing the community, and reporting on analytics for everything Trainual when it comes to social media. The first 2 weeks were brutal. Trainual did not like what they saw. They felt the content missed the mark on their ICP. Performance wasn't there, so they had a meeting. A huge regroup was needed. The kid was down, very low. He had a SaaS company's entire marketing leadership team picking apart every ounce of work he had done for the previous 2 weeks. But he knew Trainual was right. The messaging was skewed. So the kid went back to work. Then on October 17th, the kid woke up to something unexpected. The first viral meme, 1 million views. Trainual's most viral organic video ever. The co-founders were smirking. Maybe the kid was worth the 4K, but a broken clock is even right twice a day. So they needed to see more. So what happened? The next day, another winner. And then the next day, another winner. At the month's end, Trainual was bought in. Humor was going to become a massive part of their brand identity on socials. The kid kept making memes and the content kept performing. They had a story repost from Jennifer Aniston. Leadership roles within Trainual were being fulfilled because executives would see the content and say, hey, I want to work there. 5 million organic impressions a month, 10 million organic impressions a month, 15 million organic impressions a month. Those type of numbers in SaaS were absolutely unheard of. Trainual's first problem was solved. The organic social was no longer dead. But the board began asking questions. How does this contribute to the bottom line of the business? And oh, it did. In their next monthly meeting, top of funnel reach was up 300% across the entire brand social accounts. And Trainual was booking 1 demo per day organically through socials. That got the board off their back for a little bit. But for Trainual, they weren't satisfied. They wanted to ride that momentum and began pouring more resources into their social presence via social media specific hires. So they went out to hire a social media specialist. Trainwheel posted the job, but for some reason they thought in the back of their mind before they went to market with this role, they asked the kid, hey, do you know anyone who would be a good fit for this role? The kid made one call, Ben. The next week, Ben was on the phone with Trainwheel's head of marketing. And in 2 weeks, he was on the team working directly with the kid. And by the end of 2024, Trainwheel had done over 100 million organic impressions across all socials, scaled their audience from 45,000 to 145,000 followers, and saw months with 60 plus demos being booked organically through socials. It was at that moment a CMO and a 22-year-old kid took Trainwheel's social presence dead out of the water and turned it into a category-defining approach that SaaS companies across the US are looking to emulate today.
Okay. What's the kid doing now?
Last time I checked, he's running a content agency. I think he's still making money from being funny.
What's his name?
Aiden Brannigan.